how have you survived over the years, right? I mean, what are some traits, some character traits that we can share with our audience about, how do you make it? How do you have the longevity that we've had over the years? Because sometimes it gets downright tough, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one secret is you got to pick the phone up. That's just, not just the phone, but you have to respond to people because they just want the problem solved.
Welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. Let's grow today as we learn from decades of real estate and leadership experience.
We want you to know that when you log into this show, you're going to get authentic conversation. We're going to give it to you straight, and it's going to be real.
Hey everybody, this is Jeff Sutherland on the Jeff Sutherland Show, and today I have a fellow Hoosier in the house. I'm so excited. You get to meet John Pacilio, and John is a good friend of mine. I work alongside of him at EXP, and I met him, I think it was a couple years ago, but it was striking the similarities we have in our lives. And today, I can't wait to have you meet John. He's from Indianapolis, Indiana. Let me just tell you a few things about him. First of all, he has 6 kids. So anybody that has 6 kids has game. So John is like Mr. Energy. And he's like, I'm seriously in awe of how much he manages with 6 kids, been married about 30 years. 31 for me, 30 for you, John. We've both been in the business 24 years. It's just crazy how many similarities there are. In fact, 20 of those years with John were so he was very successful at RE/MAX. And in fact, he was in the top 5% with RE/MAX at one point. And he also had the top 2 transactions at RE/MAX, which means they were very, very high prices. And actually did one of those his first year in the business, which is kind of unheard of. He's from Carmel, Indiana, and he owns a large commercial building there. And he's well in tune with the community there. He's been at EXP for 4 years, and he's a Boilermaker from Purdue University with a electrical engineering degree. So that is John Pacilio. John, welcome to the show, brother.
Jeff, thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it. Always good to collaborate with you. And that sounds like a lot of stuff on that piece of paper you just read there.
It is a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So it's been fun. It's been a fun career. Got a lot of people around here. I've been in the same house. In fact, my second daughter, I have 6 kids. I say productive in all areas of life. That's one of the keys to life. And so my second daughter was born the day we were going to close on a house. So we ended up pushing back the closing. The guy was nervous. We still live in that house today. And that was like 26 years ago. I just added on to it and made it big enough for 6 kids and a dog and a big dog. It's a Bernese mountain dog.
Oh my goodness.
Big dog.
So when you look back at raising 6 kids, you're still in the middle of it. Give me some of your best highlights and memories, and tell me maybe one of the biggest challenges that you had raising 6 children.
That's a lot. But, there's a lot of involvement. If you raise your hand at the school, our kids go to like this, you're coach. you're at, and you better figure it out quick, for sporting events and things like that. I love to be involved with like BizTown. I have a business mind, so I like being involved with that. They have a makeshift, little small town environment where somebody's a mayor and somebody's the police officer. They can write tickets and stuff like that. So I get involved with the kids' activities a lot. As recent as about 12 hours ago, I think it was, 24 hours ago, one of my daughters, she graduated from high school. So get this, in Carmel, Indiana, we have a large high school, about 100,000 people here. It's I would say, desired for our community because it's ranked as one of the top schools in the state for high school. 1,200 people in our graduating class. I had 90 in northern Indiana, close to where you're from. So the 1,200 people, it took an hour and a half, about 10 kids a minute to read all the names. It took an hour and a half. But there were some pretty amazing. I ran into some people that I know from there, and it was great. So anyway, it's amazing family community. They have over 500 acres of green space. And so my office address is at 15 East Main Street. So it's like right downtown, a lot going on, a lot of festivals. They have automobilia, arts and design district is what they call it. It's exciting to be here, and it's good because some of the kids that go to the big city, we're a decent sized city, but I just had one move back from Chicago. There's more to do here. now. So raising the kids, I have to credit a lot of that to my wife. And I come in, the real estate business is very active, and we have to take care of a lot of people. I've been a solopreneur for a long time, had individual agents working with me over the years. But one thing I've not shied away from is having a fantastic assistant. I communicate with my assistant daily, sometimes more than she cares to hear from me. But to give you an example, today, by the way, she's been with me for 17 years, a long time. Yeah, just take care of her, and she can work remotely, which is great as well for her. She can, take her laptop, visit her kids and what have you. But it helps me be more efficient. So number one, do a math problem, figure out what your income is, divide it by about 2,000 hours, and that's what your hourly rate is. So if you're paying them less than that, you're doing a great job, right? So you need to find tools and people and resources to be able to maximize your time. And I do a pretty good job with that. I'm learning every day. This week I'm very curious and I need to learn. I'm diving into AI, and I'm going to figure out how to get some more AI, artificial intelligence capabilities, so that I can have multiple assistants that aren't human. So that's where I'm going. So I'm still growing every day.
Yeah, there's so many things we could talk about. You just said too, and one thing, my graduating class was 1,200 exactly too. So that's interesting. Your daughter had that. I moved out to Mesa, Arizona, and I was like blown away. 1,200 people in one class. Yeah, you mentioned when you got voluntold and you were a coach. I think that's one of the beauties of being in this business. Honestly, John, this real estate business is that there was times, sure, where I was up at 10 o'clock at night, writing contracts or up late, but I never missed anything and got to coach my daughter, got to coach my son. So I was either on the softball diamond or the basketball court, so I love the flexibility, being a real estate agent. And the last thing you mentioned, which I thought was really, really intriguing, is when I grew up in Indiana, 40 years ago, 35 years ago, there really wasn't much to do in northern Indiana. It was, pretty slow life. And, I honestly thought I would probably just get in trouble if I stayed there. I wouldn't have much opportunity, to be honest. And now it's like, I look at cities like Indianapolis and Carmel. There's so much more to do, right?
Absolutely. And, we just this week, we just received the award for the Carmel earns number 2 best place to live ranking in all U.S. cities. And out of the 250 best places to live in the U.S., and came from U.S. News and World Report. So it's legit. So, and it's, you have a better climate, maybe where you're at, in Phoenix, more consistent. You can golf more. But we do have winter, the seasons and everything. But it is, they make the best of it. Right down the road, they have what they call Chris Kendall Market, where they put an ice skating rink out, and they've got these little huts, little German huts that sell their wares and what have you. And it's a great thing for the family to do in the winter. So that's something new, and they're creative. So we get a lot of traffic from that, and a lot of traffic from sports. Plus, the Pacers are doing well this year, and we have the Colts. We have the Indianapolis 500 on this weekend on Sunday. That's it's sold out, and there's over 300,000 people. There's a lot of sporting events and stuff like that come into play here.
And now you got the Indiana Fever.
Purdue's got a great guard, Braden Smith. He's one of the top guards in the country. We got Caitlin, right? And we got Halliburton. So we got three of the best guards in the whole country.
That's right. Yeah.
That just goes to show you right there.
Yeah. Now, John, you've been in the business for a while. You've sold a ton of homes, like over 1,000 homes. Okay. And Indianapolis, Indiana. Is the metro area of Indy just exploding on all sides, or are there certain areas that are growing more than others? What's going on in that metro area? I know a lot of investors have invested in there over the year. What kind of trends do you see, so we can educate the buyers and sellers that are listening to this?
Yeah, it depends on what you're looking for. I was just evaluating. We have 6 properties to evaluate right now to list. And a lot of these are on the south side of Indianapolis or mid Indianapolis right now, southeast, for investment properties. These are owned by big owners of I don't know if you should say hedge fund, but big investors. And so if you want an investment property that's a reasonably priced property, this is a great place for it. You can still buy something, 150,000, 200,000. A lot of these that I've been marketing for investors, which is a specific program, sort of a funnel of business for me that I just started last year. After 24 years, I started doing this, added to my repertoire, so to speak. A lot of those are between 200 and 300,000. We're selling the ones that they bought maybe for 150, selling them for 250 after 5 years or so, and they maximize their money that way, the return on investment. But those will be in different locations than the Carmels and then the Fishers, the northern suburbs, Zionsville, where the prices are substantially higher. Median is around 550 in that area, which is where I'm at, where my building is. So I get a variety of different things. But one of the things I'm most excited about lately is I'm getting calls from the kids of the parents that I'm friends with. So they're second generation folks. I bet I have 6 people that are in the pipeline. Some have closed in the last 4 months, are literally, they're in mid-20s and they need a house. They just got married, having a baby, moving, and their parents obviously have told them positive things about me, or they've met me when I've sold their house. And instead of using somebody brand new in the business, they want somebody that's experienced, because it's not easy. It's not automatic to buy a house here. It's I guess what I should say is to win the offer. We do have multiple offers. I've had 2 Saturdays ago, I wrote 3 offers for buyers. That's a lot. I had 3 separate buyers that I showed properties to that day, and they all wrote offers. One of them got the deal done that day, and the other 2, I have one of them under contract now, another property. And then the third is we're probably going out tomorrow. So I work with buyers and sellers to understand the market. We have about 1 month to 1.5 months of inventory based upon, what, depends. If you go way up in price, you might hit 5 months. But I would say 2 to 3 years ago, that was 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So when I go show property now, I'm not running into other agents at the property, which is kind of unusual because the last few years it's been, I would say about 8 months ago when the rates jumped or so, I would say I would hit 2, 3, 4 agents at the same house, and it was just a normal showing. So that's when you know it's really hot, and it's unusually hot for what I've seen over the last 24 years. It's still good, but it's not crazy. These buyers can win a house now.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to me you're certainly not immune to the price increases that have happened across the country. You guys are having them, but I think it's at a lesser magnitude than some markets. What I'm seeing, tell me what you think, John, but you see like areas like Phoenix. A lot of people are leaving Phoenix because it's unaffordable. There's other cities around the country that are unaffordable, and you see a lot of people from the coast moving into the Midwest because it's a little bit more affordable. Do you find a lot of buyers coming in from the West Coast and things looking for a little bit of a less cost of living?
Yeah, it's cost of living. The schools are great, and the community has a lot to offer here as well. If they get to know it, a lot of people come back after they've been gone for a while. Maybe they cash their chips in Phoenix and they can buy a big house. I've had a number of clients, they'll buy with cash where they sold this little house in California. They'll buy a big house here in Indiana for, $1 million, $2 million. You can buy whatever you want. Pretty much. Yeah, you can get a big house. Yeah. Yeah. And I work I'm not probably the normal broker. I work with investment properties, first-time buyers or sellers, all the way up. And I help our company with our luxury products. And I'm a luxury ambassador for the company. I'm 1 of 10. And what that means is I want to know ins and outs of all of our luxury products and our solutions so that I can go to these high-end homes and give them the best service that they're going to get in our market. And I feel confident in that. Within a couple of days of each other, I was at a house that was 15,000 square feet. And, we were talking about staging. I had a decorator with me and stager and, overlooks the basketball court in the house and the 12 acres and all this stuff. And then I'll go to another house that's a first time buyer. So it doesn't matter to me. It just keeps it interesting. I keep my edge on that. And then I'm continually honing my skills.
And that's what I love about you, John. You're always growing. You're always pushing yourself to learn more. You just mentioned AI earlier. And I think, when we look 5 years out, there's going to be two types of agents. There's going to be agents that understand how to leverage AI and those that don't. And I think that those that understand it, that are using it for better efficiency with their day, are going to have a huge advantage. I think if you don't try to at least know a little bit about it, you could be left behind. What are your thoughts on that?
I am 100% with you on that. If you think about it, what AI can do, it's the value of you doing the evaluation on a particular property is going to be somewhat available to everybody, because they're going to be able to punch an address in, and the data is out there. The data, it's not very well hidden. It's going to be out there, and it's going to have some better capability to evaluate statistically different markets, maybe similar markets. Columbus, Ohio is a similar market to Indianapolis. It might be able to compare that easily. We're going to be focused microscopically on the subdivision, and a lot of homes that are in subdivisions here, and we'll evaluate it that way. We'll do adjustments and that sort of thing. It's going to be a better calculator. You got a whale of a computer. We're going to have to get our arms around that. I'm not afraid of it. I want to embrace it. We're going to have to get our arms around that and figure out what the client needs. The end customer is the most important thing here, right? So what kind of services, maybe there's other services we don't even offer now that we can offer, and let this computer, come up with a number that spits out and it's more accurate than us.
Yep.
I think that's where it's going. And the strong are going to survive. We've been through some ups and downs in 24 years, right?
Sure.
I think there was a 2009-ish or 2008 area in Phoenix, especially. We got really good at short sales. You just pivot. And, there's so many areas in real estate that it's unlimited. I mean, commercial land, I'm working on a big piece of ground right now that they're looking at developing for a builder. I just sold a commercial building for a bridal shop. So I'm not afraid to jump in. I've fallen enough and skinned my knee enough to know what to do and what not to do. But here's the difference that I've seen in the last 4 years compared to the previous 20 is I was with a big franchise company, great company, loved them, liked the people I worked with. One of the things, major difference for me, is I get to help other agents, and it's a value add for them, and it's a value add for me. When you're with a real estate company, typically it's all about your production, all about what you're doing, who's winning, and what's the rankings and all that stuff, which is great competition. But you're not incentivized to help other agents. And that's that's how we met, Jeff. You help. I know you're a giver, and you give a lot to this industry, I feel, and that should pay off. And we have a culture, more than a culture, we have a platform. We have a platform so that you can actually not, it doesn't cost the agent any money, but the company will actually compensate you for helping a lot more agents. And it creates a stronger bond to the company and referrals to you. So, we've talked about maybe doing some business back and forth between Phoenix and Indy. We're known for investment properties, return rates. So so I just wanted to bring that up because I feel strongly about it.
Yeah, that's a good share. Up until the point where I came to EXP, I was kind of in a silo in Arizona. And then when I got into EXP, my life expanded so much. I mean, little did I know I'd become a good friend with somebody that lives in Indianapolis. And now we're to the point where we're actually introducing people from around the country into the EXP platform. And you and I are embracing each other's strengths and how we complement each other. So when we talk to these agents that need our help, we've got a collective almost 50 years of experience behind us, a couple thousand homes that we've actually transacted in commercial and residential. So I feel really good about our value proposition. And I feel good that we can actually help agents succeed and help create a legacy for their family. And the greatest thing is when you get to know somebody like we know each other, I always know that John, when I talk to agents and introduce people to John, he's going to make us both look, I will never be embarrassed by what John will say. John is a good person. And I know he cares about the agent in his heart, and it's about giving. And that's what I've always believed. The more that you give, it always comes back one way or the other. So John, talk a little bit about the success we're having, bringing on great agents around the country, and what it means for them and what it means for us.
Well, it comes down to how we're structured is a little unfair. I like to call it an unfair advantage. I like to be on the side of unfair. So I didn't know this really before I came here, but it only took me after 20 years of being with a big balloon company, which was great, did well there. It took me 2 weeks to leave, and it was okay, here it is. Really, here's what it comes down to: transactions. Anybody that's been in the business for a little while can do the transactions, and you have different tools. And I can tell you this: I have better tools than I've ever had in my career here, and they're not extremely costly. Some are built into our monthly cost, which is $85 a month. So, but that's one facet of it, and that's usually the only facet any agent is focused on. And there are two other areas here where you can make residual income, and you can also gain, I call it deferred gratification income, because I've got a lot of kids, and there's at some point I might want to retire. I told somebody I'd be in this business 20 more years, and I've already been at 24. You have a tough transaction, you might back that to 15 years, and then the next week I might be 20 back again. But long time, because I like what I do and I enjoy helping people. But back on task. Transactions, ownership, and partnership is how I describe it. And I call that the dual ships, and that's our unfair advantage. Ownership is we are a publicly held company and on NASDAQ, EXPI on NASDAQ. And there's 5 ways we're all owners in the company. Every agent in this company, by the way, 4 years ago were 40,000. Now there's in the mid 80s, 80,000. That's over doubled. So there's something going on here. Okay. But ownership is, you have a little piece of ownership in the company. And if you are very productive, and this is one of the reasons I came here, because I'm a productive broker. After, in that 2-week period, I learned that, okay, wait, everything I paid into the company, bar $5,000, I'm going to get back in stock if I can do the production I've been doing for a while. So, heck yeah, so what are you going to do with that money? Well, typically people should reinvest it in their business and grow it or what have you. And I've done that. Or you can keep it. It's up to you. It's a stock. It's vested 3 years out. And once I got to know the leaders in this company, which happened very quickly, I realized the ship is driving in the right direction. We have some unfair advantages that a lot of other big organizations don't have. And I'm optimistic. So anyway, that's one. So transactions, ownership, and then the partnership piece. And this is what Jeff brought up earlier. I consider it business partners. So Jeff and I are business partners. Here's the cool thing, Jeff, and I'll tell you a little story here. So I grew up on a dairy farm in northern Indiana, all right? And there's, it's only half an hour away from where you grew up, and even though you ended in Phoenix, we found that out. But one side of the road, my uncle lived across the street. It's a road. It's a state road. My father our family lived across the road within walking distance, right? He had a dairy farm. We had a dairy farm on the other side of the road. We only milked 24 cows at a time, which isn't very big. Now they do thousands in these big production systems. We lived on 150 acres. He had about the same land and about the same size herd. And we had calves and whatever. A good way to grow up. But I think of this as EXP is similar to this in that my uncle had his own profit and loss statement. My dad had his own profit and loss statement every year when they farmed and milked the cows, and they had some profit coming in from that. My mom did the books, by the way. But regardless, they were independent businesses, but they helped each other. They collaborated. They shared equipment. So we had one corn picker, we had one hay baler because we didn't need to across the street from each other, right? And they would help each other on the machines. One guy would drive the truck to get the grain in the truck. The other one would be driving the picker. So, and then when they had to fix it, they'd fix it together and go buy the equipment together, split it. No different than what we have here at EXP, in that your success and my success, we have our own decisions to make, our own transactions. But with this partnership where we can introduce people to the company and help each other and help them, really, that's really the bottom line. We're going to help them more than we're going to help ourselves. There's some monetary value to that. And in a nutshell, EXP takes 50% of all the money that comes in from the cap money, and they pay it back to the agents that help them grow. That's in a nutshell. So it's not the agent's money. It's the money that comes from EXP, and it's they can run the whole company off of half what they bring in. So it's amazing. That's a very scalable opportunity as well, because you're not doing every transaction. I was involved with hundreds and hundreds of transactions. I think it was 500 transactions last year that I was involved with, that I did in addition to what I was doing myself. So that's an amazing thing.
That's the ultimate form of leverage in an industry that has not exactly had that, right? I mean, this is the industry we're in, John. You work hard your whole career. Most people end with hopefully some investments, some savings. There's no 401ks, things like that. You have to kind of make it on your own. But what EXP has done is they've completely made this the most agent-centric model in the world. And you're talking about equity and stock ownership. Well, right there, that changes the culture. And what I've noticed about EXP, I've been in 7 years, is everyone's pulling on the same rope. Right? We're all pulling on the same rope. That way, if somebody's doing well in Massachusetts or Florida, I'm happy for them, because I want our stock to be a high performing stock, and I want it to be another income stream in my future. So we think differently about the company. We want everybody to succeed. So the culture is so much more abundant in nature. It's not a scarcity mentality where people are standing over their copy machines, Well, we don't really have those either, because we run so much more efficiently now. Speaking of that, our cost structure is so much lower than a traditional company because we run it in the cloud. We've got this thing down to a science. When we really took off as a company, it was in 2000 during COVID. 99% of the brokers out there really kind of got caught with their pants down. They weren't ready. They weren't ready for this at all. And then we've been doing it since 2009. So the company's been set up so well, and so much thought has been put into this. But I think the secret sauce of it is the revenue share model. It's our playbook. Because when John and I invest in someone with our time, and we teach them and we mentor them and coach them, when they do well, we do well, and the company shares revenue with us. And we help that person develop a legacy. And that's something you just don't see a lot in this industry, John. You just don't see it. So that's what I'm fired up about, is that we're changing lives here, and we're helping people bring more sales to their family, and we're setting them up for a better exit strategy.
That's right. First and foremost, we do the transactions in this company. We did over 355,000 transactions last year, and that's where it starts. But what you just told the crowd out there is we're different. Sharing the revenue is an incredible opportunity, and it doesn't come out of the agent's pocket, and it also is willable as well. So it keeps going. It's just an incredible opportunity, and I can't say enough positive about it. I'm deep into this company in multiple areas, and the same people who started this company in 2009 are still driving the ship.
That's right.
But they've added more top leaders in the industry.
With the primary owner, Glenn Sanford, having a major stake in the company, a large percentage of ownership, that's very important. When you start looking at everything and you look under the hood, it gets better and better. Now, let's shift gears for a moment, John, because we've been in this business a long time. You and I have been through some really tough market cycles, 06, 09. Some people would argue the last couple of years, well, especially in my market, the affordability is very, very difficult. Like, we haven't had these affordability problems since the 1980s, the early 80s. Especially in markets like mine. So how have you survived over the years, right? I mean, what are some traits, some character traits that we can share with our audience about, how do you make it? How do you have the longevity that we've had over the years? Because we sometimes it gets downright tough, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one secret is you got to pick the phone up. That's just not just the phone, but you have to respond to people, because they just want their problem solved. And if you're not there to help them with that problem, or I have an assistant that answers my phone, and I have an assistant that's in my email, so that I can respond even if I'm in a meeting, and even if we'll get right back to you. But we have to do more and more. Quick response is what the public expects, and that's always been a key thing for me. And I've gotten business from that, just as that simple as that sounds. Getting connected to your sphere and your community is a huge, huge part of that. I've done a lot of things over the years, but I just held a garage sale for all things. And I'm not a big fan of garage sales, to be honest with you. But I get into it because the people in the community want it. And I've had as many as 40 people selling stuff out of their garage for God knows how much or why. I'm the supporter, so I'm the sponsor of it. That was probably the least expensive thing I've ever done. And I took a survey map of a plot plan of the neighborhood, and I have my assistant put on these little for sale signs all over it. I print them out and I hand them to them, give them a little bag so they can put their stuff in there. They're just plastic bags that you get at the local, the restaurant, right? So, and then I give them some balloons they can tie in their mailbox. I don't inflate them for them. So it takes just a little bit of time to drop them off, and that's a face-to-face interaction. And I bet I sell at least one house a year from doing that. And I probably spend $50-$60 plus our time doing it. And it's these are sometimes there's $800,000 houses. So that's a nice return on investment. And I always one up it. And so I made a QR code from our company. We have a connection with the QR code company. I can change it every year. And if they scan the QR code, I'll have our community email out 3 times with my face on it. So it's like, hey, sign up for the garage sale. I have a QR code for that. It goes directly to a Google form, and I get notified that they're on it. So we have a spreadsheet for them. And then I'll switch it to the map, so I'll change it to the map so they can see what the map is. It shows that I'm progressive and I'm not the old relic real estate guy that's out there. It's easy. And I put some signs out. That's about all I do.
Yeah. But you've mastered the basics, and that's the point, right? And you keep growing, you keep learning. Let's also talk about when we bring agents into this organization. I personally love to coach agents. I know you love to help agents, coach them, mentor them. What are some things that you lean into when we bring agents over? We have producing agents coming in from other companies. What are some of the things we do, like in the first 30 days? Because I want agents to know that we're very methodical about their success. So we're not just throwing it against the wall. There's a system employed.
There's no doubt about it. So we set up several meetings, right? When they say, okay, yeah, let's go, let's sign up. And usually we'll kind of handhold them and get them to the point where they can switch their license. And they do that themselves in Indiana, they do anyway. They'll switch it themselves, but we'll set up a couple other meetings to coach. And you're instrumental in this one with the database. How to use our database, how to do squeeze pages, how to communicate and keep that fresh so that everybody that you meet should be in there. I am I don't know, expert, but every day I'm pushing myself to do this, to learn the different tools that we have in this company and the different training. So we have this program now called Fast Cap. It's a 6-week program, and it's for experienced agents and new agents. That could be a training start. It's a virtual training ground. It's live on screen, just like this. And there's some accountability behind it. But they found that after 6 weeks, there's 3.9 contracts. So they did a math problem there. Let's round it to 4. So after 6 weeks, whoever goes through that is going to have 4 contracts. Now, they could be a listing contract or a buyer's agency contract, but it doesn't matter. That's 4 deals that they probably wouldn't have gotten if they didn't go through this program. So it's a very good program. It's put on by somebody that's been in the industry for a long time, and it's very regimented and multiple times a week with some accountability behind it. In addition to that, I have access to some of the referral systems that we get from within our company. And this is one of the other unfair advantages we have. I keep saying that, but it's true. We have some leaders in the industry. I would call them silos. We might have industrial leaders and institutional sellers or buyers. We might have somebody in relocation, all these people. And they are working for the same company instead of, with a franchise model. There's some separation there. There's usually a regional owner, and then there's a local franchise owner. So some of that gets lost, and it's kind of relied on at the individual franchisee. We do this from a corporate level. We have over 2,000 employees. So we have capability to do some bigger projects that hit a wider area quickly. But I'm involved with one that's a business-to-business connection that can create a funnel from a business owner or a business executive, CIO, whatever you want to, somebody in HR, for example, if you connect this person with our product, it will allow them to communicate to their employees very easily. And we have a system in place for that. And it will create a funnel that'll provide you with lead resources. That's one of them. Location. Last year, my understanding is we provided 30,000 referrals out to agents. That's
referrals out to agents. And that is one of the biggest things I want people to get out of this today. When we bring people on, I actually like to have them do a DISC assessment. If you're familiar with behavioral profiles, I've really been an expert at those over the years. I like to get to know how people are wired, because some programs are better for people depending on what their personality behavioral profile is. So to me, it's a customized solution for every agent. And that's where John and I want to get involved and find out how do you work? What are your preferences? What are your passions? And we help bring stuff to you that you don't have to completely do a reinvention. We're trying to build on what you're already good at and give you stuff that can help you get more business and increase your funnels, increase your pipeline. So, the first 30 days for us is really important. I've been building brokerages my whole career, and onboarding is so important, and we are very good at it. And so, if you ever want to walk through what that looks like, there's no harm in building relationships. We just want to help everybody, and we're not attached to the outcome, So you might decide you want to come with us someday. That's great. If not, that's okay. We still help somebody win for their family. So, John, speaking about all that, if you look into the future, the next 5-10 years, what do you see? What do you see for your business? What do you see for us? How do you see that growth happening? We brought on some really big players. We're bringing on another player soon in Northern Indiana. This is great stuff. So what do you see?
So I just see opportunity wherever I look. And it's the craziest thing, there's no limit in what you could do. It's really, you have to look internally and just make a decision. What do I want? Where do I want to be? And then you backtrack and you figure it out. But because of the fact we have the transactions and they keep improving what we're doing, the efficiencies of the transactions, how I'm going to plug some AI in so I can get some more assistance from automated assistance area. But these other two areas, the stock is going to be what the stock is. Doesn't matter. I feel that as long as you believe in the company, they're profitable. They typically have over $100 million in the bank. And cash, I say in the bank, cash reserves or whatever you want to call it. I want to be proper on that, but available and no debt. They don't decided not to take on debt. And that's a huge deal when the rates jumped. So then finally, and this may be the biggest of all, is because you can do all of these, the business partnership piece, the partnership. I get energized when I talk to people about this opportunity. Hey, it's not for everybody. But they should look at it and uncover, does it make sense for me? Because you've been here 7 years, you say?
7 years.
I've been here 4, and you go to college for 4 years, right? It took me 4 years to come out, and I was an electrical engineering technology major, and I got to go off and set the world on fire, right? Well, I've been here 4 years. I bet it's probably 8 years worth of work just to dive into all these. I plugged in, and I understand who to talk to and how to get stuff done. I understand what tools we have internally so that we can open up the door, and maybe we can add a transaction a month. What would that do to your life? If just one deal a month? Or this, Jeff, what if we could take your price range from here and move it here and you don't have to do as many? So we have tools for that. So I love the fact that we're helping a lot of agents. I feel like I need to be involved because I need to understand it so I can help more people. And that's part of what I'm doing. Do I need to do as many deals as I did when I first started? Probably not. I find it fun and energizing to be around sellers and buyers. But I tell you, I didn't know I liked talking to agents that much.
It's fun. I've learned that it's a direct correlation between the growth in your organization, the organization that you're growing, and your pace of leadership and how much you're investing in yourself. Every day I try to grow more myself, and I also try to learn a little bit more about the company every day. And those two things, I think, are an incredible way of sharing the opportunity with others. So, if you're an agent out there and you're like, hey, it's not going to hurt talking to Jeff and John, give us a call. Let us help you through with what you're going. You could be 2 feet from gold. Could be just one thing that we could help you out with. John, I want to give you the last word, and be sure to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you as well, if you don't mind.
Well, I would enjoy talking to other agents, and of course, buyers or sellers if they're out there watching this. But I think you get the feeling that Jeff and I are pretty serious about what we do. We don't take things lightly. I have vetted this place pretty seriously over the last 4 years. So people have asked me, did you wish you stayed? You wish you go over here? No, I go where the opportunity is. And the fact that they allow us to brand ourselves and keep that brand, any of us could pick up and we could sell real estate anywhere, to be honest with you. Now, at what level? That could be the question. But where are you going to get to be part owner without the liability? And I could start my own brokerage. I could work twice as much as I do now, which would be hard to do. But there's so many advantages of using the platform, because it is a platform. Just dip into the tools that you want, and just grow your business or grow your people, or maybe you're at the time of your career where you want to step back a little bit. And that's where we can come in, and we can come up with some ideas on how you can maximize maybe a retirement strategy, and connect up with another younger broker. I'm not sure I'm the younger broker or not, but we could offer advice on that as well. But how they get a hold of me is I have a website, Team Pacilio, Pacilio, that's how you spell that, teampacilio.com. To learn a little bit more. And you can always email John at johnpacilio.com. I'm very accessible and excited to talk to you. And I thank you, Jeff, for including me, and your friendship's meant a lot to me over the last couple of years. And what you see is what you get with Jeff, and that's the way I like to work. Life's too short. Let's help each other out.
Yeah, thanks, John. That means a lot. I was just going to say the same thing about you. After today, I think everybody's seen John for who he is. He's a family man, a strong, ethical leader at eXp in Indiana. John and I are ready to rock and roll. When you are, you give us a call. And I'm down here in Phoenix and been in the business. The latest thing we're working on is we have a wicked good VIP buyer program. So when you sign in as a buyer with us, we can offer you up to $3,500 in incentives from local discounts from vendors that you'll be using when you move into your house. We get nothing out of that. We just want to be able to have you say, hey, mention Jeff Sutherland, and you'll get a discount of those vendors. So I'm excited about that kind of stuff. So if you want to check out anything that I have going down here in Phoenix, just go to the Jeff Sutherland Show on YouTube. I hope you can subscribe, please, to this broadcast and to my channel. And if you want to hit my website, it's jeffsutherland.com. And for John and I, we're going to sign out and wish you guys an amazing weekend and a Memorial Day weekend to that. And we give thanks to everyone in your family that's given the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And we're very grateful for their sacrifice. So we give you thanks, and have a great, great weekend.
Thank you all. Thank you, Jeff, for your service as well.
Thank you.